to go?
Okay.
Okay, but where do we have people log in, Hassan?
Arab ID Media. It's okay. أنا بعت لك التاج هلا فيك تبلش بليز. أنت هوا.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We're here tonight to talk to you about the coronavirus and its impact on small businesses. With me is Ahmad Chebbani, the owner of Omnex Accounting, the largest accounting firm in our community, handles a lot of the businesses. And we wanted to give you an update on what's happening and how it's affecting your small business and what you can do to basically get ready to reopen your business and what you can do immediately to mitigate the financial damage that's happening to a lot of businesses in our community. So we're just starting right now. We're trying to get everything set up so that people know where to go to where we're live. First of all, I think the most important thing we start with, Ahmad, is who, as a small business owner, the first thing people right now, a lot of people are unemployed. The latest labor statistics show that 16 million Americans are unemployed. Most of the restaurant workers, everybody that's non-essential, everybody's been forced to basically sit home. And a lot of people, don't have the financial resources to be able to maintain without working. So what do they said that they're going to allow people to go and collect unemployment, but I don't think anybody has collected yet. A lot of people filled out. Can you give us a little bit of insight on what that process is and what people should expect from unemployment?
Thank you, Nasser. These are difficult times, obviously, and something's situation that has never been experienced before. So I guess you go day by at a time, given the way the information has been actually, revealed on all the processes. Obviously, in March 27th, the Congress has enacted a stimulus package of $2.2 trillion. It's only missed a couple of zeros. And obviously there's more on the table now, maybe about 250 billion in addition to that. So what we have on our hands is basically a situation where the economy has come to a halt 100% almost, which has never been experienced historically in the history of this nation or globally for that fact. Obviously, since then, March 13, which is the state of Michigan, where we had a stay-home order and where all the essential businesses had to be shut down, which obviously has hurt a lot of people, and especially people, business owners in our communities. There are many options that exist part of the stimulus. First, we can address the stimulus will be addressed. We'll talk about the issue of the unemployment, which is also still complex to some and easy for some others. But obviously, I would like to talk about eventually the stimulus amount of money that people really are expecting. They've been promised that they'll be receiving from the Treasury, which is what's so-called the $1,200 individual. So part of the stimulus package is individuals will be receiving $1,200. If they're married, they'll receive $2,400. And for every kid they have, every child, a dependent that they have under the age of 17 will be receiving an additional $500. So that's supposed to maybe help families survive for a month or two to maybe pay for the essentials. Now, there are many questions around this. When do you receive it? How do you receive it? A lot of technical questions, and that's also, it differs from individuals' situation. First, let me address the issue of when do they start. Now, the Treasury has begun to print checks as of April 9, which is today, and people should be receiving their stimulus dollars in their accounts on April 14. 14, 15. So who does first? I'm not sure. That what it says in the article that I've read, that all low-income individuals will be receiving these funds first, and hopefully who needs it the most. The Treasury will be distributing about 5 million checks a week. Imagine, that the amount of checks that be deposited directly into people's accounts, and about 60 million Americans will be receiving those stimulus checks. Now the question goes on: is who people don't have? So the primary thing is, if you filed your 2018 taxes already, which I hope you did, you had a bank account there, then automatically you'll be receiving the checks directly into the account you had in 2018. And if you have filed in 19, it should be all set. Hopefully you added your account to it. And you should be expecting also similarly the same into that account.
So
Also, go ahead.
basically, people are going to get the money directly deposited into their account.
Yes.
The stimulus money.
That's right. So they should be receiving that directly if the IRS has their account number. If they don't, and the question is, what happens to them? The lower income people, supposedly, I'm not sure how to determine this, but lower income people will be receiving check directly by checks, and they may take about 4 to 6 weeks. The higher income individual may take up to September. This is the problem to receive those checks.
And it's anything, a low income is considered everything under 75,000, right? Of your income,
Well, I'm not sure the guideline, because 75,000 for individuals is the limit, and after that there's a phase out. So let's say a single individual files, single taxpayer has 79,000, let's say, in income. That at $75.1 the phase out begins. The phase out of this $1,200 begins until income of $99,000. Then at that it becomes zero. So maybe gradually declining until it phases out to zero. That's for single. For individual, for married filing jointly, it's 150. People earn under 150 combined income, they will be receiving the full stimulus, and any dollar beyond that, they will be phased out until I think income of nearly $200,000.
Now, from my understanding, Ahmad, is that people are going to get, if you're single, you get $1,200. If you're married, you get $2,400. And for every kid that's listed as a dependent on your income tax, you get $500, correct?
Yes. But then the kids, the dependents, have to be of age 17 or younger. So under 17, let's say 16. Once they hit 17, you will not get that $500 at this point. Every individual files, even dependents will file individually. Then you can get the $1,200. So you have to decide, Yuri, technically is, if I have an adult who's 18 years old and my income is higher, do I benefit by having them getting a credit of $500 only, or should I have him, her, or him file individual income tax independently and get the $1,200? So this is the question.
Isn't it too late now? Because to file, I mean, it's everybody that has filed up to the date of the stimulus. You can't go back and change it.
No, yeah, but so the stimulus works like it worked in the Bush era. So it's called an advance payment for the year 2020. So the IRS is advancing you based on the information you have now in 2019, and before based on 2018, given the circumstances of the timing that we're in. So basically, if you will get a check, even if you didn't get a check because your income was filing jointly and your income was $150, let's say, and so when you file your 2020 tax returns, you will get the additional credit. So that's a refundable credit. So between 2018 information needed, 2019 tax filing will adjust it, and 2020 tax returns will get you the full credit that you did not receive. Let's say an example is that if you had a child in 2019, right, and you had not file your tax return for 19, so the stimulus will be short $500 because they use the 2018 tax returns. But once you file your 2020 returns, you will be getting that credit additionally. You won't lose it eventually. So this is where, as far as the stimulus is concerned, and how do you most benefit out of it? Actually, you're gonna have to talk to your accountant, tax preparer, who can really advise you on how to best benefit out of the stimulus. You could, maybe your income in 18 was lower, and now is higher. You may get away with it. You're not gonna refund it back, the way it works. So if your income in 18 qualify for the stimulus, and 19, the present year we're in, you made above the limit, then I won't file it in 19 now. I'll file an extension. I'll wait till I get my stimulus, and then I'll file my 19. Everything, even if I didn't qualify for it, I will keep it in my pocket. This is how it works.
What happens if somebody has like back taxes owed or something? Does he still get the stimulus, or will they deduct the?
To my knowledge, that the IRS says it will not be garnished. They're gonna make an exception unless somebody has back child support. So if you have a child support, you need to pay your kids, and if you have any other debts, the IRS is not going to garnish those stimulus, according to my reading of the bill that was passed by Congress.
Okay, now that's the stimulus. Now unemployment benefits. I know that the federal government is giving $600 a week to everybody that's been laid off. Is that right?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not sure where I'm going to start, but yeah. So unemployment. So obviously, it's not what unemployment typically is a very simple solution. You get laid off, you go file for unemployment. The employer, authorizes this or not. In this case, so the process was different before, because of the situation we're in now. So the unemployment application process has changed. So now you can apply for unemployment and receive the $362 limit maximum week as a benefit, and then the stimulus promises to add $600 a week on the top of it. So you'll be receiving $962 according to the interpretation of the bill. That supposedly will go only for 13 weeks. So if you go on unemployment, typically you go for 26 weeks. Now the IRS has said, no, you can add 13 more weeks for emergencies. So you technically can go for 39 weeks for unemployment.
Well, what happens if somebody is like making less than $900 a week and he goes on unemployment, and you open your business back up, and he's not going to come back because he's collecting more money than he's making when he was working?
That's the big question. That has been, to my knowledge, a huge debate on the floor in the House, whether the stimulus that's going to discourage the economy to get back into its feet, because a lot of the people who work in the service industry, especially talk about restaurants, bars, hotel industries, that may make an average less than that, and now you give them $600 a week. Should they go back? Eventually it will be a challenge. Eventually, it will. It's gonna run out. It's not $600 forever. And you expect ethically that if you're a good employer, that you support your staff, they're gonna come back and support you and get their business back, on its feet. And because it's only the owner's a job to get the business going. Everybody who had been living from that business is responsible to get the business going. The restaurant owner is not the only one. The cook, the waitress, the busboy, everybody is. It's a collective effort.
What happens if, like, there's a lot of businesses that don't have employees, like you're an independent contractor, you own a small business, like a consulting company or something like that? Would they be able to, and they're unable to work right now, landscapers, there's a lot of non-essential people. Would they be able to, even if you own your own business, if you were on salary, would you be able to go and collect unemployment?
But this is what's unique about the stimulus is that allows self-employed and sole proprietors to apply for unemployment. And actually, according to my last reading, that's supposed to go starting April 10, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow, people can go on apply for unemployment. How does that look like? I don't know. How do they compute it? Is it income fact based? Or because they never paid insurance you never paid any insurance for unemployment. So I'm assuming that would be only people who may qualify for the stimulus, which is $600. I don't see it beyond. I hope it is beyond that for people who need it, but I think it would be only to qualify for the $600 stimulus for 13 weeks. Otherwise, we'll see tomorrow how that goes.
Now, what about the business owner himself? I know that they just rolled out a program where it's a payroll protection loan that you apply through your local bank that's giving you 2.5 months worth of payroll
Yes.
as a loan that could be forgiven. How's that process work?
So there are multiple programs were rolled out and tax credits. The one you are mentioning is called the Paycheck Protection Program, and the PPP is a program that allows employers to take last 12 periods or last 12 months of wages and receive 2.5% of that, 2.5 times of that as a loan.
2.5 months.
Huh?
2.5 months.
2.5 times. So the way it is, I'll give you an example. If somebody's wages is 110,000 a year, let's say, right, 120,000 a year. So the average wages monthly would be 10,000. So you can go on a PPP and you can apply for $25,000 of a loan that can be forgiven. This is the trick here: is that how can be forgiven is not automatically forgiveness. But what you have to do, you really have to call your employees back. You really have to pay your employees. So you're allowed 8 weeks of time to spend the $25,000. In addition, so they give you 2 months plus and a half of the months, and the half is typically used to pay your rent, your utilities, and your mortgage and interest on your loans. So people have misunderstanding of this. It cannot be automatic forgiveness. You cannot withdraw the money and walk away with it. If you do, that's a loan. So you typically would have to pay it back. You have 6 months deferment, and after 6 months you would pay only 1% interest, which is very low, and you have 24 months to pay it back. And it's the same for people who take that amount of money and you don't spend all of it on wages, could have an excess amount of loan that they couldn't spend, then that's the amount that also becomes a loan and defer for 6 months and then payable in 24 payments. So it is a very good program in my opinion. It took the banks time to roll out. I'm amazed at some of the banks who were able to roll out the program immediately. And I have some of my clients who have already been funded, amazingly. And some banks, unfortunately, they have not even gotten a program going, which is very frustrating for a lot of our clients. So I'm not going to mention banks, by names, but everybody who's in the business knows who's able to be proactive to support their clients or depositors, and who really are behind in a technological age that are not able to get an online application to get their, business clients, going.
But you said some of your clients have already been funded through this loan, because I have a small business and I applied and I have not been funded yet. So I'm waiting. I haven't heard anything back.
Yeah, I mean, this is a large client who owns quite a bit of restaurants, and he's a very successful man. We went an application very early, first day to open up, and he was approved and was funded. And we're very happy because that's, about 700, 800 employees at stake here. So that's the only one that I know of. Obviously, I have not seen anybody who I've heard anybody who was getting funding beside him. You know, at Omnex, I want to give a lot of credit for my employees. Really, we you know, I wanted to mention that earlier. So we had to shut down our office like everybody else. We have to move our staff to their homes, supply them computers so we can support our clients. Literally, we get 100 of calls a day, and I give my staff a lot of credit for supporting and helping people file for the loans and get them going. It's a challenging time for everybody.
You know, like right now, there's millions of businesses that are going to apply for this loan, this PPP loan. How's the government going to sort out what you spend? I mean, is there going to be additional filing afterwards? Is there more to do after you get the money to verify that you've spent the money properly?
Yeah. So that's a good question, actually. So that's why specifically the SBA allowed only banks to process this, because banks are most familiar with our clients. Okay, and I mean, I'm not sure banks were happy or not, but I'm sure they should be happy because they're getting fees on this. But they're probably most fit to have an oversight of a program like this. So the way it works is you go through processing. The bank has a lot to do with applying with getting approved. And even though your personal credit is not applicable in this case. Obviously, if you have bad credit, they're going to give you a PPP. There are other loans, if you have bad credit, you're not going to get, obviously, because so this is not a credit based, but it is a character based. So what happens after you are funded by the bank and you receive the money, the clock begins. You have 8 weeks to make sure you rolled in all your staff into payroll if you were closed, and then you continue to pay them. You bring them back to business. You open your business back up, and then at the end of 2 weeks, you have to make accounting for that. So the bank, then you have to request a forgiveness from your own bank. So you get a bank, hey, look, you know, I'm done. I would like to request the forgiveness of the debt. So it's a process. It's not automatically given. So the bank will tell you, you know, send me the documents. So they're going to send you a list. Give me copies of checks for the rent. Give me copies of checks and invoices for your utilities. Give me your payroll ledgers. Give me certify your payroll by your payroll company, your accountant, and give me all these documents. And once you upload them, you give it to them. They have 60 days from that day that they will have to respond to you with whether they approve all of it or partially. And if it's all, you'll be given a forgiveness note. And if it's some partially, then the part that is not approved, then it becomes a loan and you pay it back at any given time that you have, right? So there is a process in place. And by the time we get the money and then you spend it, I'm hoping that the banks are in place to do a self-audit on people.
Now, you're able to spend that money, the PPP money, first of all, on labor, right? You bring back your employees on your payroll.
That's right.
So you have to bring your payroll back to the level that it was prior to you closing.
That's correct.
Then you can pay your mortgage or your rent.
Okay.
And then you can pay your utilities with that.
That's
if
correct.
you cover those three, then whatever you spend on that, that's possibly most likely going to get forgiven, and the balance converts into a 24-month loan at 1% interest.
That's correct. Yeah, but also added you have health insurance. If you do have a group health insurance, also counted as part of the payroll costs. So these are the items that only counted, and so if you don't bring all your employees back, let's say you have 10 employees and you bring only 9 back, you're going to lose that 10. You lose that. So they want to create and maintain jobs. If at the end of the period you start with 10 and you have 9, so the portion is not going to be allowed. This is how it works, you know. So it is really intention to bring your employees back to the workforce, and then the government is helping you to do that, you know, and it's not a bad deal.
No, I mean 1% interest, even if you don't convert it, don't get it, you get a release on the loan. The 1% is still a good money, because when you open your business, it's not like you can just start up and it's going to pick up right where you left off. You got to basically, everybody that's been closed for a month or two has got to rebuild his business from scratch.
And this is no personal guarantees, by the way, on this.
Yeah.
You're not going to guarantee any of it. Now, other loans you do have to have guarantees. Here, you don't have any, so you just take it. I'm not saying walk away. You just spend it appropriately on your business, and this is an opportunity for you to get back on your feet.
Well, it's important to say that this is a federal loan, and you're making certain declarations on the loan app.
Yes.
And if you don't, if you take the money and don't use it for what you're supposed to be using it, the federal government can come back to you and charge you with a crime.
Of course, I mean, you are attesting an application, you attest that you are going to do that. And this is serious stuff. It's not really a joke. It's not a free money. It's an emergency money has been made available to you under these conditions. It doesn't mean because they are giving you the money is flexibility. There's no flexibility in the process. And yeah, you can go to jail. There's a thing of fine. If I read between $5 to $1 million of fines, depending on the size of the loan, there's jail time. So this is really something to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, people should not think that this is money I'm going to take and I'm going to go buy a car or I'm going to do something with it. No, you should spend this PPP money on your business to try and get it open. Because even when you open, after this is all done, like a lot of restaurants are not going to be as busy as they were because we're going to be in a recession, if not in a depression. A lot of people are not going to be going out to buy, spend money at restaurants or go to stores or anything like that. It's going to take time for the economy to kick in and people to get back to a normal routine.
It takes time, and hopefully this money can be well spent for that purpose. I mean, everybody wants to, go on with their lives and go to normality. Hopefully we can do that soon.
Okay. I think it's a good time because we need to take a break here and then come back. the Corona disaster loan that the SBA is offering businesses, and you can go to the website and get the fill out a very simple application for your business, and they're supposed to technically give you an advance immediately once you're approved of $10,000, and then give you the balance of the money. I filled out that loan for my business. I haven't heard anything back from the SBA. I called them, and they told me that it's going to take about another 10 days for anybody to see anything. Have you heard any businesses that have applied that loan and gotten the money?
No, it's a good question, Nasser. No, this is a dilemma. Because when you go to apply for this loan, it just tells you within 72 hours will deposit the money in an account. Obviously, for some people, it's been 7, 8, 10 days. But let me talk about this loan, because this is a confusing loan. So it is the disaster loan that's complementary loan. We talked earlier about the PPP.
Correct.
Which is legit for people who really have employees, W-2s, and that's a simple process we went through in details, and it's no brainer in my opinion. Right? So if you don't know if you qualify for you had wages last year on your tax returns, you had employees, even if you are the employee, your wife is an employee, everybody counts. There's no exclusion. Only exclusion is you cannot make more than $100,000 a year. So more than $88,300, $333 a month would be disallowed under the PPP. But please go take advantage of this, because it is an opportunity for you to survive, to get for the next couple of months. So hopefully by then things would be different. So what is this loan? The EIDL loan is a loan, also disaster loan. It's an emergency loan, supposedly, that you can apply for it based on your gross income and cost, if you have any. And they're supposed to give you an advance. It's an emergency advance. So obviously advance is not there. I mean, and time is clicking. We've been into this for 2-3 weeks now. And according to today's governor's announcement, we have two more weeks to stay at home. So 3 more. So till the end of April. So things are prolonged, and the more we take time staying home, for a lot of people means running our reserves and increasing worries about what's going to happen next. So going back to this loan, the misconception first of this loan is that it's a grant. I mean, everybody who thinks a grant is a fool, excuse my language. Nothing is a grant by government. There were some grants for small businesses in counties and all that for conditions, but typically the SBA is not going to give you a grant. It will become a grant. The $10,000 become a grant if you pay for certain things. Okay, so if you pay for wages, if you pay for rent, you pay for payables. So you have to use it for working capital to pay things, and they're going to ask you, well, how did you spend your $10,000? And you have to show them how you spent it. If you don't show, you can't just withdraw it. If you withdraw, it becomes a loan. So when you apply for the loan, we don't know how much money they're going to give you, obviously. So you don't request specific amounts. You just say, this is what I have in revenues, expenses. Please Allah, give me a loan. And the loan could be, we don't know, it could be 50,000, it could be 100,000, could be harder than 10,000. You may not even get to 10,000. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see. And this is really it depends on every individual. Because if you have $10,000 revenue, that's in a small company, they're not going to give you 10,000. There's no urgency for you. If you didn't make 10,000 the whole year, how are you going to get, another 10,000 for free? So this we'll wait and see. I haven't seen anybody in our client. We applied for hundreds of those. I haven't seen any of my clients that has received it so far. And eventually they will. And look at the end of the day, Nasser, look, March 27, they rolled out this huge, a stimulus has never happened in history, right? And it was a bill, and I think it's missing a lot of technical things in my opinion, but that's not, now the time for us to criticize some of it. The intention is good. And then they expected within a few days for banks to go online and accept the application. I mean, within a week time, I give them a lot of credits. So for the government to give, I don't know how many millions of businesses applied for this EIDL loan, to give you instant 72 hours money without, because that's also depends on your credits. If your credit is bad, you may not get this loan. You have to have, if you get it, you have to have fair and acceptable credit. Otherwise, you may be denied. I mean, there's a process, but we'll see when that comes. I mean, we'll be dealing with our clients individually on what to do with this money and how much they get. But also the distinction of this loan and the other one is that this one is you have, if it's over 25,000, you have personal guarantees. Over 200,000, over 25,000, I think there's a personal guarantee. Over 200,000, there will be a loan. There will be a collateral also guarantee required. And the distinction of this loan is that it's deferred for a year. So you don't make any payment until 12 months from the date you receive the money. And there's distinction also the rate. So the rate of interest rate is 3.25, 3.25, I think. And so then after a year, 12 months, you can decide to pay it. If you have the money, you don't need it. You can pay partially some of it. The rest you can amortize over 30 years. So that's something you need to work with the SBA eventually on what to do with this loan. Use it wisely, use it efficiently. You cannot distribute the money into your pocket, otherwise you lose the application. It just becomes a loan. You have to pay for necessary expenses.
You know, there's a lot of businesses. I mean, your firm handles a lot of small businesses, and a lot of these businesses don't have deep reserves. So if you're closed for several months, I mean, your rent is still going, your utilities are still going, your lease on equipment is still going. So, I mean, how do you tell a small business, how does a small business start up his business again once he's able to open? I mean, should he go back to the landlord, because the landlord, he owes rent, but the landlord's also going to probably get some stimulus money also.
That's right.
So, and he's getting deferments from his bank. If you have a good landlord, he'll probably be willing to work with you. If you have a bad one, what does that small business owner do?
So you're right. There's many things can be done, but these are totally short term. I mean, there's no ultimate long term solution. First, I think if you have a mortgage on your business, a loan from the bank, you can call your banker, and every bank is doing it. You can ask them for deferment for 90 days. And this is what it does. I think technically it freezes your payment. It doesn't recur the interest. I think that the banks are being very understanding because they don't want to put you out of business, obviously, right? If you have an SBA loan specifically, you can defer up to 6 months. So you can provide your financials to the SBA, your tax returns, and ask for deferment. They want to see you're in good standing. They'll defer it for until September, 6 months. So that's as far as loans. Even mortgage, people in their homes, actually, they are calling the mortgage company requesting if they can be deferring their mortgage, and I allow them being granted the request. Because overall, the industry understands these are unique situations, and they have to, if you care about a customer, the borrower, whoever this person is, you really have to work with them because it's a bottom-up problem. If it's a bottom does not get resolved, the big guy is going to pay the price. So they understand that. Second is that utilities, obviously, you can defer about 60 days. I don't think it's going to shut you up now. Your landlord is an issue. Like I'm a landlord also. I have my clients, my tenants call me, and you have to make deals. You have to be understanding, deferring, suspending, postponing payments, negotiate, because I want my tenants to come back on their feet and still pay me rent in the future. There will be some sacrifices for everybody have to be made. So it's really my clients. I mean, it's just across the board. Is everybody has this understanding of we are in a unique situation. Things will work out. Now I have one guy call me today. He said his landlord, his land contract holder will not basically defer, not even a day. I mean, this is shameful because, I mean, the guy has so much money, at stake. You put him down, you're gonna get nothing out of this whole thing. So the people have to be really understanding, and we have to work with everybody else.
I mean, it is a unique situation. We've never seen anything like this in this economy.
That's right.
When you have the majority of small businesses closed down in the state of Michigan, but when you go to reopen your business after this is over, if you're a restaurant owner and you're closed down, basically all your inventory has gone bad.
That's right.
So you have to go and restock all your inventory. Then you have to see if you can rehire your employees if they want to come back to work. So basically you're starting from scratch.
Yeah, this is really challenging. This has not happened before, I think, where this is an engine running, has been running, never shut down ever. It turns off, and they try to get it running. Often it may not get run. It may not go on, and it's a challenge. So I think if I were in their place now, I would be thinking, what are my next steps? What do I do? How do I prepare myself? Do I spend this time actually refiguring my business? Is it time for me to review my menus? Is it because when you start, you're going to be competing with the shrinking entertainment dollars, with the shrinking consumer. So you need to compete again with the consumer. So what do I do? Do I review my menu? Do I choose new specials? Do I do new pricing? All these things you have to be thinking about now. Before you start. We have time. 3 weeks is a lot of time to spend time with the family, and to in the meantime, rethink how we're gonna get that engine going. It's gonna be very interesting. Make sure you always connect with your employees. Make sure you're there for them. You call them all. Say, look, you need anything from me? Can I help you? Do you have any problems? So you need to stand by your employees who stood by you for years. And if they need anything, you need to come forward and help them out, because their misery is yours, bottom line.
How many of these businesses, Ahmed, do you think are going to be able to reopen after this is over? I mean, I'm sure you're going to lose a lot of your clients that won't be able to do it, or some of them are saying this isn't worth it. I'm just going to walk away.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, we already have a discussion with a number of people who said it's not worth it for me to go again. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm tired. My staff are gone, the older staff. It tells me I'm not sure if I'm going to reopen again. And this time is going to give a lot of thoughts for the people who've been insane, because small mom and pop businesses don't create always a lot of wealth, obviously. So it creates nice living, comfortable living, to put your family in a safe place and provide a meal to the table and send your kids to school, and hopefully they go to college and become successful. But it doesn't mean you're gonna build a lot of wealth out of it. And those are the people who have surpassed that initial stage, and the kids are gone, and the cost of living has gone down, and restaurant owners already have talked to a few of them. They've decided they may not come back into this business because it's not worth it for them anymore. So you're right, and people who are actually on the edge. There's a lot of people who were overfunded, who are over leveraged. They were struggling in the first place. The business was not doing as well as they had expected it. These people are going to pay the biggest price, because they will never come back into the workforce anymore. So we're yet to see what kind of the consequence of this shutdown at the end of the day. We'll see who pays the price, who's not. I mean, our community will suffer somehow, so we'll see.
What kind of businesses are going to qualify for this? I mean, because right now lawyers are out of business, basically. Accountants are closed. Everything, landscapers, everything other than grocery stores, gas stations, these essential, even a lot of doctors' offices and dentist offices are closed. Do all these qualify for these loans, or how's that?
Well, all the non-essentials that they had to shut down, like dentists and others, they had to shut down obviously because they're not essential. I'm not sure if you have a bad tooth, what's going to happen. I mean, I'm not sure where to go. Besides call, if you have a cell phone, call your dentist. But because there's no emergency urgent care for this stuff. But a lot of our physician clients and urgent cares have gone into a telemedicine, which means connecting with their phones to the patients and do the basic screening and even rewrite the prescriptions or basically refer them to the ER if they think there's urgency for that. A lot of clients called me and said we shut down because not only them, I mean, I think that the physicians, they give a lot of credit, and the medical people on the front lines are doing a good job. But also the employees who work for them in those clinics, really are having a hard time, and worried about facing the public, given you don't know who's walking into your clinic, whether people are infected or not. And not everybody really obeys the social respect rules by wearing masks or stuff. People just walk in, they think they walk into the aunt's house and, they want to see a doctor, and that nothing has happened, and they are carrying a virus and walking around. So I was discussing with one of my doctor today. He said, look, I've seen 4 people that said they only have a headache and they turn out to be infected. So my staff, his staff asked that they're not going to come back to work, and he shut down. I mean, I don't blame them, but he's converting his business into the iPhone or the telemedicine practice. How did it come back? I'm hoping. Look, I'm hoping that way that cash is still there in the market. People still have cash. People will be running out of cash. Restaurants eventually, after this jailing time or stay home period, probably will encourage people after the end of this month to just go out and see the world and go to restaurants and bars and God knows what they want to do in their lives and go on with normal life. I think they'll be spending again. I mean, but the engine again is going to take time to pick up and go around at full capacity. It won't be the same, I think, the way like it used to be. Especially people are going to be worried whether this virus is going to come back again next year. So there's people have a lot of depends on individuals, have a lot of calculating their risk and what they're going to do next.
But you have a lot. The statistics I think I read were 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and right now we started in March, the middle of March. Right now we're almost in the middle of April. The governor just extended till the end of April. She might extend again in May, and these people have not gotten any money as of yet.
Sorry.
So a lot of these people coming out of this are going to be in a financial hole.
Yes, sir.
And the government claims they're sending you or giving money or putting money into the street, but my fear is that they help Wall Street and forget about Main Street. And Main Street's the one that's going to suffer the most.
You're right. I mean, you know that we have over 40 million Americans who live below poverty line, the poverty level. And those people who really have, typically a minimum wage and part-time work and maybe, typical families that they survive hardly to a week, those are going to be suffered the most. These are people going to pay a huge price because I don't think they can survive a week or two without immediate pay. And unfortunately, given the unemployment rules that a lot of people had been denied who were filed early because the state apparently did not execute the emergency order from the federal government early in stage. Because if you did not have enough weeks, you did not have enough pay, you typically are denied the unemployment insurance because you have to pay. You have to have enough earnings. If you only made 150 a week or 170 a week, those numbers are 200 a week, which may not qualify you for the earnings really to get the benefit. So they were denied, and And I want to ask people to file if people have had that situation, to file a redetermination by filing the form they receive for denial. And they really somebody should help you with this, and do not let it go. Because when you reapply again, you should, under the new emergency law that says the state will not use the traditional way of granting unemployment for individuals. So they have to pay you your unemployment, and then eventually qualify for the stimulus. Because if they deny you the unemployment, you can't get the stimulus. That's the problem with that, right? So you have to make sure you get approved for unemployment so you can receive the $600 a week. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything in this case. And let me add one thing: employers who really have their employees apply for unemployment, they will never pay a penny into this, so their rate will not be impacted. They have to don't deny people. Don't even respond to them. The letter that you receive. You can complete the information for the unemployment, but do not try to deny the benefit for your employee because he or she needs it the most, and your rate will not be impacted in this situation.
What about people who work 20 hours a week, or will they also be able to qualify that are working part-time?
They should be. This is what I was stating, is that the income is so low. They should be, according to my understanding, with the emergency law, that you forego the typical guidelines to granting unemployment to individual applicants, and you grant them unemployment based on the rate, the amount of money they receive, so they can receive the stimulus.
Okay. So what about like right now, let's say a law firm has a bunch of lawyers and they're laid off. Do they also qualify for unemployment? I mean, does everybody? What if they were independent contractors?
So everybody who is lawyers, and it could be, if they receive wages, they can file for unemployment, and they would qualify for the stimulus, which is the $600 a week. So combined, they receive $962 a week until they decide to go back to work. Now, under the self-employment rules tomorrow, the people who apply for unemployment are self-employed, real estate agents supposedly qualify for that, and also partnerships. Attorneys who manage their private partnerships, they don't have typically W-2s. They receive guaranteed payments. That also, these individuals qualify for unemployment. So the rules have expanded and became a little more liberal and available to almost every taxpayer in the market.
And what happens if the government money runs out before everybody gets money?
The government would print more money. Apparently, with $2.5 trillion almost, which is, I think, is not going to be, economists at least, it's not going to be enough to move the economy forward. They probably will end up with $4 to $5 trillion. I mean, it's a big economy. Do we get impacted? We just borrow more money from China, and then eventually, we may face inflation. I mean, there's a lot of issue. This is something we have not tackled. We haven't looked at the consequence of printing money and issuing bonds, and we'll see. What does it mean for the dollar? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the macroeconomic situation. I mean, there's a lot of business, like if you own a wedding hall or you're in the wedding industry or banquets or anything like that. People have planned these things years in advance, and they're all closed down. They're all shut down. You've closed for a certain amount of time. What happens to these people? How do they come back?
It's just a mess with scheduling. The calendars have to be moved around. If the couple's still interested in getting married, I think we're going to negotiate next summer from now. And if you want to have a way to back out, this is an excuse, Corona. So it's a mess. It's just people have to reconfigure their lives again, cancel vacations, redo different things this summer, and maybe flourish Michigan economy instead of Florida this year, something like that. I'm not sure. So it is a mess. I don't know. I don't have an answer for all this because also in our malpractice, we are, moving tax season 3.5 months extra, right? So what does that mean for us? How much do we have to work? Do we finish? We don't finish? I mean, this is something we've never experienced, and it's just challenging, and people have to scratch their head and say, how do we deal with these problems? And we have to resolve them.
What about sales tax, Ahmed? What if you had owed, is the state doing anything on sales tax? Because usually you pay your sales tax the month after, you had your sales. So what happens there?
So usually you have a retail business and you owe sales tax and state income tax withholdings. You would have to pay by the 28th of the month, the following month. So typically now for March, our sales tax is due the April 20. So I haven't seen anything regarding that, but I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen eventually. So we know the February payment for sales tax, which was due March 20, has been postponed to April 20. Okay, so now a month behind. I'm assuming that for similarly the same, the governor should do that, and I'm sure they will declare it soon. They should be moving 30 days forward to allow people. People don't have the cash. When you close, the business is open for 2 weeks of March. People are going to owe sales tax, whether 1,000, 2 or 5, whatever the size of that. Some people may have the cash to pay it. They choose to pay it. You should pay it on time. If you don't have the cash, I have people who really have zero money in their accounts. So those have the options to postpone the payment, and the state promised that there would not be any penalty or interest on the amount due. Once we learn the new exceptions to month of March, we will declare it to our, to the public and to our clientele first, and make sure we let people know what to do. Again, these are new things, but I'm assuming they will be postponed for 30 days. That makes sense,
Well, it should, because, like we said, a lot of businesses operate day to day, month to month. They don't have a large reserve to cover their expenses. And then you're forcing them to shut down, but those recurring expenses continue to happen.
Of course.
A restaurant will have lease, on his equipment. He'll have certain, certain companies have stepped forward, already deferred some of it. But I think the tragedy is going to be, and the disaster is if we go past the end of April.
That's right. There's certain things are negotiable. You can talk to your landlord, you postpone. Also at the same time, you don't want to really hurt your landlord. You don't want to really, I don't want to pay you this month. There should be also an understanding between you. You don't want to just use the occasion because, your business has, is not doing well. You just don't want to pay your landlord. You have to negotiate something out with them or her, because also they have investments to protect. They also have debts to pay. So it's a huge economic circle. It's a vicious one. So it is all of us in the same boat, I guess, technically. And but some of them may not be negotiable. So that's why these loans are there. The EIDL loan is there to give you some working capital to pay your lease. That there could be non-negotiable leases. Could be some stuff cannot be postponed. And even if they were postponed, they're not going to be for free. The DTE is not going to give you free electricity. They will be, forgiven for late payment, right? For 30 days or 60 days. They're not going to give you electrical bill for free, but that bill accumulates for next month. So eventually you don't want to. Not going to feel sorry for it. Nobody should feel sorry for anybody. Everybody should come up and not take the advantage of the situation to take advantage of others. You should take advantage of the situation to think right how you're going to get back on your feet, how you use the resources you have efficiently, and go on with the life. And everybody should be happy.
Okay. I think it's a good time to take a break, and then we'll come back for the last part of the interview.
Yeah.
this program is very fluid. All these programs are still fluid. I don't even think the government knows what they're going to be doing or how it's going to play out. If the money, this program is very fluid. All these programs are still fluid. I don't know what's going to happen. Is the money going to run out? Is it going to be enough? I think people just have to play it day by day and see where they stand. Talk, like you said, talk to their landlord, talk to their vendors, reposition themselves to reopen. If it's a good time to go in and clean out your business, to redo your menu, do your image, rebrand if you want. Use this as an opportunity. I think the thing that people should not do is get stressed about it because, stress is one of the leading causes of a weakened immune system. So we need people to, make sure, let them know that they're going to be okay. How do we help them? There's a lot of things that we can do to help. Facebook is, you see things happening every day where people are helping other people. So I think we don't panic. It is what it is. We move on. And I think we'll probably do another session, Ahmad, later on after it becomes clear what's happening when people start to get the money. Because right now, nobody's really gotten anything yet.
No.
Either through the unemployment or through the payroll protection or through the SBA. Everything is in the pipeline, but nothing has come out of the pipeline.
That's right. I mean, look, things happen so quickly. No government, no individual, even we're ready for the situation we're in now. As you mentioned, it is a good time for us to do some serious thinking about different things in business, and that also. The question is also the finances. So people historically, when they talk about financial planning, that's not my area of expertise, but I obviously have to have enough experience to advise certain individuals. But always I tell them to create security in your life, okay? Because for dark days, and I think these are somewhat dark or brown, whatever days you want to call them, right? And I always tell them you should really have cash in hand. You can always have savings. Not because I have $10,000 I can go buy a car. I have to take a vacation. So really, people have to annualize their income and have equally the same savings. Let's say it has to be at least 1 year of salary income has to be in your pocket in savings, not to be touched. Because one day when things like this happen, you need to tap into the savings for emergencies. Apparently, that's not the case. Apparently, is that people, are as they receive their paycheck, they spend it all lavishly and lavishly to their level, because it's all subjective. What's lavish, right? If you have high earnings and you have savings, you can do what you want to. If you have limited income, you really have to talk about security and savings. Not having my mortgage paid off at one point in my life, right? I don't have to buy a car every year if I don't have to. So there are things. Once you surpass the savings required, maybe you can do whatever you want. And most of our people know. Typically with our refund, I have this AIC credit refunds, and for low-income people. And they receive $10,000, $11,000, and people decide to buy vacations and cars, and that's what the system wants you. Because the system relies on these refunds to boost the economy every year. It's like a stimulus for the economy. But you don't have to go with the flow like everybody else. You receive a refund, invest in IRAs, in Roth IRAs, in traditional IRAs, in mutual funds. Now, I'm not advising mutual funds because now the market is down. But I'm saying just save it. Whatever you want to do, you talk to your financial advisor. You can walk into bank's advisor. You can go individual advisor. We have a lot of advisors in our community who are smart and good, reputable. You can talk to build wealth for the future. Give some of the money to your kids for the 529 plans. Secure the future with little money. It doesn't have to be $1,000. It can be as much as $25 a month. It doesn't matter wherever you can afford, put away, and you don't have to spend it. And I always say, to people, even like $50 a month to a different account, a different investment to put away is something you'll save. It's out of sight, out of mind, right? You forget about it. Eventually, you do it automatically. You can have your employer deposit extra net deposit from your net pay into a different account, where it's invested maybe in IRAs or Roth, wherever you want to. And eventually, hopefully, with years down the road, because the investment like this are not for one day. They're not built in one day. Wealth is never built in one day. Wealth is built over years. Most people only make most money when they're in their 50s, if you believe it or not. Most people have enough wealth eventually in the 50s. If you surpass 60s and you have a mortgage on your house, and I mean, something has gone wrong. With all my respect to everybody else, you should have your house paid for and so on, debt free. So again, the point is that people have to consider is what happens if this thing happens again. Would I be ready for it, and how can I be ready for it? Whether I'm an individual who really live from paycheck for minimal, a respected income, or I'm a businessman who has a successful business, and that even if you're successful, this destroys you. Between your 401k, between your step plan, between your investment, the stocks, whatever you invested in, and your business operation, you're down 30-40%. So, in some cases more. So, are you ready for this storm? I mean, I do have a lot of trust in the system. I'm always an optimist that things will recover slowly and come back. Maybe not to the level. Maybe it's going to take time. If we're facing a recession, we're going to have a lot of thinking to do.
Well, some people say we're facing a depression, not a recession when we get out of this. Nobody knows. We've never experienced a situation where the entire economy of the world has shut down for an extended period of time. This has never happened. And I think that people should learn a lesson from this.
That's right.
But, also our system, our system, our economic system doesn't work right now, because we were always told spend. That's how we drive the economy. Maybe we need to sit back and reassess the economy of the future. Maybe this is a situation that's going to help us in moving forward and say, maybe we don't want to be a consumer economy. Maybe we need to reconfigure our economy. Our president, who has a daily comedy show right now on TV in his briefings, basically, if you look at it, he's bankrupted every company he's ever had, and now he just bankrupted the United States of America with this pandemic. So it's going to be interesting to see how we get out of this. But, things are moving. We don't know what's going to happen, a lot of variables. So I think the best thing to do, Ahmad, is, after you get some more information, after more information comes out, after you understand what's happening with these loans and these programs, if there's any new programs, we come back and have another session for the people.
And you know what? Today I talking about getting back on back in business. I spoke to one of my clients who has a Chinese affiliation. They make products in China. His agents in China, his factory in China is up and running on full capacity. So China has gone almost to full operation, and it's amazing how they were shut down and were able to get back. I think I'm just amazed how this government has not been ready for such a disaster. I mean, it's a shame that local hospitals have to cry. They don't have ventilators. They don't have stupid masks. They don't have enough beds. I mean, what happens if you have a serious national disaster beyond the virus? How do you deal with this situation? So I think it's time for government to put emergency plans clear and transparent to people, so people can feel comfortable whether this nation is ready for emergencies, whether food is available, and hopefully they have some toilet papers too, and things to protect the population. As of now, I'm not really impressed. And it makes me worry that our focus, this government's focus, is not in the right places, and you cannot run a business that things gonna be perfect every day. You're gonna always run a business as something may go wrong, and what is my plan to recover and act. So these are things I think the government, after we are all said and done after this, they should really come back with transparent plan and put people at ease. Because this corona, supposedly from the medical profession, says that this thing becomes a societal thing, is not going to go away, is embedded in people's and transmitted at different level. Everybody has impacted differently on that. So it may come back next fall, next winter. So I mean, let's just hope for the best, regardless.
Okay. Well, Ahmad, thank you. And I want to thank everybody that watched us tonight, and thank HB Hassan Bazzi for putting this together, and Alan Jabin. And everybody stay safe. Everything will be all right. We'll take it day by day, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, Ahmad.
Thank you, Nasser. Thanks, Hassan.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.